Hi everyone, Miss E here. I hope you guys are ready for part 4 of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So let's get started. So we just finished off learning what happened during Christmas time and how our friend did not get Twisted Wizard like he'd like to, but his friend did. So let's find out what happens on Christmas Eve. Not Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. In case you're wondering what I'm doing in my room at 9 p.m. on New Year's Eve, let me fill you in. Earlier today, me and Manny were horsing around in the basement. I found a tiny black ball of thread on the carpet, and I told Manny it was a spider. Then I held it over him, pretending like I was going to make him eat it. Yeah! Scream! Squeal! Right when I was about to let Manny go, he slapped my hand and made me drop the thread. And guess what? That fool swallowed it. Go. Well, Manny completely lost his mind. He ran upstairs to where Mom was, and I knew I was in big trouble. Manny told Mom I made him eat a spider. I told her there was no spider, and that was just a tiny ball of thread. Mom brought Manny over to the kitchen table, and she put a seed, a raisin, and a grape on the plate and told Manny to point to the thing that was closest in size to the piece of thread he swallowed. Manny took a while to look over the things on the plate. Then he walked over to the fridge and pulled out an orange. So, that's why I got sent to bed at 7, and I'm not downstairs watching the New Year's Eve special on TV. And that's also why my only New Year's resolution is to never play with Manny again. January, Wednesday. I found a way to have some fun with the big wheel Rowley got me for Christmas. I came up with this game where one guy rides down the hill and the other guy tries to knock him off with a football. Rowley was the first one down the hill, and I was the thrower. Shriek! It was a lot harder to hit a moving target than I thought. Plus, I didn't get a lot of practice. It took Rowley like 10 minutes to walk the big wheel back up the hill after every trip down. Rowley kept asking to switch places and have me be the one who rides the big wheel. But I'm no fool. That thing was hitting 35 miles an hour, and it didn't have any brakes. Do you want to have a turn now? Pants. No thanks. I'm not as good as you. Anyway, I never did knock Rowley off the big wheel today. But I guess I have something to work at over the rest of Christmas vacation. Thursday. I was heading up to Rowley's today to play our big wheel game again, but Mom said I had to finish my Christmas thank yous before I went out anywhere. I thought I could just crank out my thank you cards in half an hour, but when it came to actually writing them, my mind went blank. Let me tell you, it's not easy writing thank you notes for stuff you didn't want in the first place. I started with the non-clothes items because I thought they'd be easiest, but after 2 or 3 cards, I realized I was practically writing the same thing every time. So I wrote up a general form on the computer with blanks for the things I needed to change. Writing the cards from there was a breeze. Dear Aunt Linda, thank you so much for the awesome encyclopedia. How did you know I wanted that for Christmas? I love the way the encyclopedia looks on my shelf. All my friends will be so jealous that I have my very own encyclopedia. Thank you for making this the best Christmas ever. Sincerely, Greg. My system worked out pretty well for the first couple of gifts, but after that, not so much. Dear Aunt Loretta, thank you so much for the awesome pants. How did you know I wanted that for Christmas? I love the way the pants look on my legs. All my friends will be so jealous that I have my very own pants. Thank you for making this the best Christmas ever. Sincerely, Greg. Friday. I finally knocked Rowley off the big wheel today, but it didn't happen the way I expected. I was trying to hit him in the shoulder, but I missed, and the football went under the front tire. Rowley tried to break his fall by sticking out his arms, but he landed pretty hard on his left hand. I figured he'd just shake it off and get right back on the bike, but he didn't. I tried to cheer him up, but all the jokes that usually crack him up weren't working. So I knew he must be hurt pretty bad. Hey, look at me! I'm your dad! Dar dar dar! Monday. Christmas vacation is over and now we're back at school. Do you remember Rowley's big wheel accident? Well, He broke his hand and he has to wear a cast. Today everyone was crowding around him like he was a hero or something. Does it still hurt? A little, I guess. You poor thing. I tried to cash in on some of Riley's new popularity, but it totally backfired. I'm the one who broke his hand. You meanie. At lunch, a bunch of girls invited Riley over to their table so they could feed him. What really ticks me off about that is that Riley is right-handed, and it's his left hand that's broken, so he can feed himself just fine. Here comes the airplane. Yum, yum. Tuesday. I realized Riley's injury thing is a pretty good racket, so I decided it was time for me to have an injury of my own. I took some gauze from home and I wrapped up my hand to make it look like it was hurt. It was a raging infection caused by a splinter that was left untreated. I couldn't figure out why the girls weren't swarming at me like they swarmed Riley, but then I realized what the problem was. See, the cast is a great gimmick because everyone wants to sign their name on it, but it's not exactly easy to sign gauze with a pen. So I came up with a solution that I thought was just as good. Would you like to be the first one to sign my sympathy sheet? The idea was a total bust, too. My bandage ended up attracting attention from a couple of people, but believe me, they were not the type of people I was going for. Can I peek at your infection? Go away. Monday. Last week, we started the third quarter of school, so now I have a whole bunch of new classes. One of the classes I signed up for is something called independent study. I wanted to sign up for home economics too, because I was pretty good at home ec 1. But being good at sewing does not exactly buy you popularity points at school. Hey look, Greg has a purse. Actually, it's an embroidered book bag. Okay, Percy. Anyway, this independent study thing is an experiment they're trying out at our school for the first time. The idea is that the class gets an assigned project, then you have to work on it together with no teacher in the room for the whole quarter. The catch is, when you're done, everyone in your group gets the same grade. I found out that Ricky Fisher is in my class, which could be a big problem. Ricky's big claim to fame is that he'll pick the gum off the bottom of a desk and chew it for you if you pay him 50 cents. So I don't really have high hopes for our final grade. Tuesday. Today we got our independent study assignment, and guess what it is? We have to build a robot. At first, everybody kind of freaked out because we thought we were going to have, but Mr. Darnell told us we don't have to build an actual robot. We just need to come up with ideas for what our robot might look like and what kind of things it'd be able to do. Then he left the room and we were on our own. We started brainstorming right away. I wrote down a bunch of ideas on the blackboard. The robot would do my homework, do the dishes, make my breakfast, brush my teeth. Everybody was pretty impressed with my idea, but it was easy to come up with them. All I did was write down all the things I hate doing myself. But a couple of girls got up to the front of the room, and they had some ideas of their own. They erased my list and drew up their own plan. They wanted to invent a robot that would give you dating advice and have 10 types of lip gloss on its fingers. All us guys thought it was the stupidest idea we ever heard. So we ended up splitting into 2 groups, girls and boys. The boys went to the other side of the room while the girls stood around talking. Now that we had all the serious workers in one place, we got to work. Someone had an idea that you can say your name to the robot and it could say it back to you. Hi, Bob. It is very nice to meet you, Bob. But then someone else pointed out that you shouldn't be able to use bad words for your name because the robot shouldn't be able to curse. So we decided we should come up with a list of all the bad words the robot shouldn't be able to say. We came up with all the regular bad words, but then Ricky Fisher came up with 20 more the rest of us have never even heard before. So Ricky ended up being one of the most valuable contributors on this project. Right before the bell rang, Mr. Darnell came back in the room to check in on our progress. He picked up the piece of paper we were writing on and read it over. To make a long story short, independent study is canceled for the rest of the year. Well, at least it is for us boys. So if the robot in the future are going around with cherry lip gloss or fingers, at least you know how it all got started. Thursday. In school today, they had a general assembly and showed the movie It's Great to Be Me, which they show us every year. The movie is all about how you should be happy with who you are and not change anything about yourself. To be honest with you, I think that's a really dumb message to be telling kids, especially the ones at my school. It's great to be me! Ha ha ha! Later on, they made an announcement that there are some openings on the safety patrols, and that got me thinking. If someone picks up a safety patrol, it could get them suspended. The way I figured it, I can use any extra protection I can get. Plus, I realized that maybe being in a position of authority could be good for me. Can we please cross the street now? Nope. But we've been standing here for an hour. I went down to Mr. Winsky's office and signed myself up, and I got Riley to sign up too. I thought Mr. Winsky would make us do a bunch of chin-ups or jumping jacks or something to prove we were up for the job, but he just handed us our belts and badges on the spot. Mr. Winsky said the openings were for special assignment. Our school is right next to the elementary school, and they've got a half-day kindergarten there. He wants us to walk the morning session kids home in the middle of the day. I realized that meant we would miss 20 minutes of pre-algebra. Riley must have figured that out too, because he started to speak up, but I gave him a wicked pinch underneath the desk before he could finish his sentence. But we would miss Yahoo! I couldn't believe my luck. I was getting instant bully protection and a free pass from half of pre-algebra, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. Tuesday. Today was our first day of safety patrols. Me and Riley don't technically have stations like all the other patrols, so that means we don't have to stand out in the freezing cold for an hour before school. But that didn't stop us from coming to the cafeteria for free hot chocolate they hand out to the other patrols before homeroom. Another great perk is that you get to show up 10 minutes late for your first period. Hello! I'm telling you, I've got it made with this safety patrol thing. At 12:15, me and Riley left school and walked the kindergartners home. The whole trip ate up 45 minutes, and there were only 20 minutes of pre-algebra left when we got back. Walking the kids home was no sweat, but one of the kindergartners started to smell a little funny, and I think he maybe had an accident in his pants. He tried to let me know about it, but I just stared straight ahead and kept walking. I'd take these kids home, but believe me, I didn't sign up for any diaper duty. February, Wednesday. It snowed for the first time this winter, and school was canceled. We were supposed to have a test on pre-algebra, and I've kind of slacked off ever since I became a safety patrol. So I was psyched. I called Riley and told him to come over. Me and him had been talking about building the world's biggest snowman for the past couple of years now. And when I say the world's biggest snowman, I'm not kidding. Our goal is to get into the Guinness Book of World Records. But every time we've gotten serious about the record, all the snow has melted and we've missed our window of opportunity. So this year, I wanted to get started right away. When Riley came over, we started rolling the first snowball to make the base. I figured the base was going to have to be at least 8 feet tall on its own if we want to have a shot at breaking the record. But the snowball got real heavy, and we had to take a bunch of breaks in between rolls so we could catch our breath. Grunt, wheeze. During one of our breaks, Mom came outside to go to the grocery store, but our snowball was blocking her car in, so we got a little free labor out of her. Grunt, wheeze. After our break, me and Riley pushed that snowball until we couldn't push it any farther. But when we looked behind us, we saw the mess we made. The ball had gotten so heavy that it tore up all the sod Dad had just laid down this fall. I was hoping it would snow a few more inches and cover up our tracks, but just like that, it stopped snowing. Uh-oh. Our plan to build the world's biggest snowman was starting to fall apart, so I came up with a better idea for a snowball. Every time it snows, the kids from Worley Street use our hill for sledding, even though this isn't their neighborhood. So tomorrow morning, when the Worley Street kids came marching up our hill, me and Riley are going to teach those guys a lesson. Thursday. When I woke up this morning, the snow was already starting to melt, so I told Riley to hurry up and get down to my house. While I was waiting for Riley to show up, I watched Manny trying to build a snowman out of the piddly crumbs of snow that we left from our snowball. It was actually kind of pathetic. I really couldn't help doing what I did next. Unfortunately for me, right at that moment, Dad was at the front window. Yeah! Dad was already mad at me for tearing up the sod, so I knew I was in for it. I heard the garage door open, and I saw Dad coming outside. He marched right out, carrying a snow shovel, and I thought I was going to have to make a run for it. But Dad was heading for my snowball, not me, and in less than a minute, he reduced all our hard work to nothing. Riley came by a few minutes later. I thought he might actually get a kick out of what happened. But I guess he had his heart set on rolling that snowball down the hill, and he was really mad. But get this, Riley was mad at me for what Dad did. I told Riley he was being a big baby, and we got in a shoving match. Right when it looked like we were going to get in on an all-out fight, we got ambushed on the street. It was a hit and run by the Whirly Street kids. And if Mrs. Levine, my English teacher, was there, I'm sure she would have said the whole situation was ironic. Wednesday. Today at school, they announced there's an opening for the cartoonist job in the cartoon paper. There's only one comic slot, and up until now, this kid, Brian Little, has been hogging it all to himself. Brian has this comic called Wacky Dog. When it started off, it was pretty funny. But lately, Brian's been using his strip to handle his personal business, and I guess that's why they gave him the axe. Wacky Dog. Hey, Wacky Dog, say something funny. Actually, I have something serious on my mind today. Susan Lim, if you're reading this, Brian is very sorry he kissed your best friend Rachel behind the lockers. He hopes you can find it in your heart to forgive him. P.S. Barry Palmer, if you still owe Brian $5, you bum. As soon as I heard the news, I knew I had to try it out. Wacky Dog made Brian a little celebrity at our school, and I wanted to get in on some of that kind of fame. I had a taste of what it's like to be famous at my school when I won an honorable mention in this anti-smoking contest they had. All I did was trace a picture from one of Roderick's heavy metal magazines, but luckily no one ever found out. Don't smoke or you'll look like me. The kid who won first place is named Chris Carney, and what kind of ticks me off is that Chris smokes at least a pack of cigarettes a day. Don't smoke. It's a joke. Thursday, me and Riley decided to team up and do a cartoon together, so after school he came over to my house and we got to work. We banged out a bunch of characters real quick, but that turned out to be the easy part. When we tried to think up some jokes, we kind of hit a wall. I finally came up with a good solution. I made a cartoon up where the punchline of every strip was Zooey Mama. That way we wouldn't get bogged down with having to write actual jokes, and we could just concentrate on the pictures. The first couple of strips, I did the writing and drew the characters, and Riley drew the boxes around the pictures. Step on a crack, break your mama's back. Yeah, right. Hey, Timmy, your mother slipped on a banana peel, and P.S. she is dead. Zoo-wee mama. Riley started complaining that he didn't have enough to do, so I let him write a few of the strips. But to be honest with you, there was a pretty obvious drop in quality once Riley started doing the writing. I had been waiting 3 hours to get a hamburger. Finally, 1 hamburger, please. I'm sorry, sir, we are all sold out. Zoo-wee mama. Eventually, I got kind of sick of the Zooey Mama idea, and I pretty much let Rowley take over the whole operation. And believe it or not, Rowley's drawing skills are worse than his writing skills. Oops, I stepped in a puddle. At least it's not an acid puddle. Hey, it is an acid puddle. Zooey Mama. I told Rowley maybe we should come up with some new ideas, but he just wanted to keep writing Zooey Mamas. Then he packed up his comics and went home, which was fine by me. I don't really want to be partnered up with a kid who doesn't draw noses anyway. Friday. After Rowley left yesterday, I really got to work on some comics. I came up with this character called Cretin the Cretin, and I got on a roll. Cretin the Cretin by Greg Heffley. My name is Cretin. Know your name? No, it isn't. Your name is Stuart Pidd. Oops, hi, I'm Stuart Stu Pidd. Har, har, har. I must have banged out 20 strips, and I didn't even break a sweat. I wonder what's in this cute little box. That's not a box, it's a brick, you dumb moron. Oops, I've been trying to open it all day. Doctor, could I have a new butt? My old one looks like it has a crack in it. Cretin, I've told you 1,000,000 times, everyone's butt has a crack in it. Oh yeah, I forgot. The great thing about these Cretin the Cretins comics is that with all the idiots running around my school, I will never run out of new material. When I got to school today, I took my comics to Mr. Ira's office. He's the teacher who runs the school newspaper. But when I went to turn my strips in, I saw there was a pile of comics from other kids who were trying out for the job. Most of them were pretty bad, so I wasn't too worried about the competition. Girls Rule by Tabitha Cutter and Lisa Russell. Don't walk near our lunch table, Tyler Green. Yeah, you're not even cute. Ha 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 ha. Girls Rule. Extreme Skaters. I'm gonna do this rad jump. Whatever. Yo, dude, watch out for that telephone wire. Here I go. Darn. Ouch. I sure am glad I wore my helmet. The end. One of the comics was called Dumb Teachers and was written by this kid named Bill Tritt. Bill is always in detention, so I guess he has a bone to pick with just about every teacher in the school, including Mr. Ira. So I'm not too worried about the chances of Bill's comic getting an ear either. Hey, Mr. Ira, you pooped your pants again. No-uh. Yeah, huh? There were actually 1 or 2 decent comics in the bin, but I slipped them under a pile of paperwork on Mr. Ira's desk. Hopefully, those ones won't turn up until I'm in high school. Thursday. During the morning announcements, I got the news I was hoping for. And the new cartoonist for the school paper is Greg Heffley. The paper came out today at lunchtime and everyone was reading it. I really wanted to pick up a copy to see my name in print, but I decided to play it cool for a while instead. I sat at the end of the lunch table so there would be plenty of room for me to start signing autographs for my new fans. But nobody was coming over to tell me how great my comic was, and I started to get the feeling something was wrong. I grabbed a paper and went to the bathroom to check it out. And when I saw my comic, I practically had a heart attack. Mr. Ira told me I had made some minor edits to my comic. I thought he just meant he fixed spelling mistakes and stuff like that, but he totally butchered it. The comic he ruined was one of my favorite ones, too. In the original, Cretin the Cretin is taking a math test, and he accidentally eats it, and then the teacher yells at him for being such a moron. By the time Mr. Ira was done with it, you practically couldn't recognize the same strip. Cretin the Curious Student by Gregory Heffley. Teacher, if x plus 43 equals 89, then what would x be? Cretin, x would be 46. Thanks. Kids, if you want to learn more about math, be sure to visit Mr. Humphrey during his office hours, or visit the library and check out the newly expanded math and science section. So I'm pretty sure I won't be signing autographs anytime soon. Teacher's pet. March, Wednesday. Me and Rowley were enjoying our hot chocolate in the cafeteria with the rest of the patrols today, and there was an announcement on the loudspeaker. Rowley Jefferson, report to Winsky's office immediately. Rowley went down to Mr. Winsky's office, and then when Rowley came back 15 minutes later, he looked pretty shaken up. Apparently, Mr. Winsky got a call from a parent who said they witnessed Rowley terrorizing the kindergartners when he was supposed to be walking them home from school, and Mr. Winsky was really mad about it. Rowley said Mr. Winsky yelled at him for about 10 minutes and said his actions disrespected the badge. You know, I think I might know what this is all about. Last week, Rowley had to take a quiz during 4th period, so I walked the kindergartners home on my own. It had rained that morning, and there was a lot of worms on the sidewalk, so I decided to have some fun with the kids. Eee! But some neighborhood lady saw what I was doing, and she yelled at me from her front porch. It was Mrs. Irvine, who was friends with Rowley's mom. She must have thought I was Rowley because I was borrowing his coat, and I wasn't about to correct her either. Rowley Jefferson, the principal is going to hear about this. Yes, ma'am. I forgot about the whole incident until today. Anyway, Mr. Winsky told Rowley he's going to have to apologize to the kindergartners tomorrow morning, and that he's suspended from patrols for a week. I knew I should probably just tell Mr. Winsky it was me who chased the kids with the worms, but I wasn't ready to set the record straight just yet. I knew if I confessed, I'd lose my hot chocolate privileges, and that right there was enough to make me keep quiet for the time being. At dinner tonight, Mom could tell something was bothering me, so she came up to my room afterward to talk. I told her I was in a tough situation and I didn't know what to do. I got to give Mom credit for how she handled it. She didn't try to pry and get all the details. All she said was I should try to do the right thing, because it's our choices that make us who we are. I figured that's pretty decent advice, but I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. Thursday. Well, I was up all night tossing and turning over this Rowley situation, but I finally made up my mind. I decided the right thing to do was to let Riley take one for the team this time around. I'm sorry I terrorized your children. On the way home from school, I came clean with Riley and told him the whole truth about what happened and how it was me who chased the kids with the worms. I told him that there were lessons we could both learn from this. I told him I learned to be more careful about what I did in front of Mrs. Irvine's house, and that he learned a valuable lesson too, which is, be careful about who you lend your coat to. I guess it's been a learning experience for both of us. To be honest with you, my message didn't seem to be getting through to Rowley. We're supposed to hang out after school today, but he said he was just going to go home and take a nap. I couldn't really blame him, because if I didn't have my hot chocolate this morning, I wouldn't have had much energy either. When I got home, Mom was waiting for me at the front door. Did you do the right thing? Yeah. Mom took me out to get some ice cream as a special treat. And what this whole episode has taught me that every once in a while, it's not such a bad idea to listen to your mother. Tuesday. There was another announcement on the loudspeaker today, and to be honest with you, I kind of figured this one was coming. Greg Heffley, please report to Mr. Winsky's office. I knew it was just a matter of time before I got busted for what happened last week. When I got to Mr. Winsky's office, he was really mad. Mr. Winsky told me that an anonymous source had informed him that I was the real culprit in the worm-chasing incident. Then he told me I was relieved of my safety patrol duties, effective immediately. Well, it doesn't take a detective to figure out the anonymous source was Rowley. I can't believe Rowley went and backstabbed me like that. While I was sitting there getting chewed out by Mr. Winsky, I was thinking, I need to remember to give my friend a lecture about loyalty. Later on today, Rowley got reinstated as patrol, and get this, he actually got a promotion. Mr. Winsky said Rowley had exhibited dignity under false suspicion. I thought about really letting Rowley have it for rattling me out like that. And then I realized something. In June, all the officers and the safety patrols go on a trip to Six Flags, and they get to take along one friend. I need to make sure Rowley knows I'm his guy. Let me get this for you, Captain. Tuesday. Like I said before, the worst part of getting kicked off to safety patrols is losing your hot chocolate privileges. Every morning, I go to the back door of the cafeteria so Rowley can hook me up. But either my friend has gone deaf, or he's too busy kissing the other officers' butts to notice me at the window. Psst, psst. In fact, now that I think about it, Rowley's been totally giving me the cold shoulder lately, and that's really lame, because if I recall correctly, he's the one that sold me out. Even though Rowley's been a total jerk lately, I tried to break the ice with him today anyway, but even that didn't seem to work. Hi, pal. April. Friday. Ever since the worm incident, Rowley has been hanging out with Colin Lee every day after school. What really stinks is that Colin is supposed to be my backup friend. Those guys are acting totally ridiculous. Today, Rowley and Colin were wearing these matching t-shirts that made me just want to vomit. Best friends. After dinner tonight, I saw Rowley and Colin walking up the hill together, chumming it up. Colin had his overnight bag, so I knew they were going to do a sleepover at Rowley's. And I thought, well, two can play at that game. The best way to get back at Rowley was to get a new best friend of my own. But unfortunately, the only person who came to mind right at that moment was Fregley. I went up to Fregley's with my own overnight bag so Rowley could see I had other friend options too. When I got there, Fregley was in his front yard stabbing a kite with a stick. That's when I started to think that maybe this wasn't the best idea after all. But Rowley was in his front yard and he was watching me, so I knew there was no turning back. I invited myself into Fregley's house. His mom said she was excited to see Fregley with a playmate, which was a term I was not too enthusiastic about. Me and Fregley went upstairs to his room. Fregley tried to get me to play Twister with him, so I made sure I stayed 10 feet away from him at all times. I decided that I should just pull the plug on this stupid idea and go home, but every time I looked out the window, Rowley and Colin were still in Rowley's front yard. I didn't want to leave until those guys went back inside, but things started to get out of hand with Fregley pretty quickly. When I was looking out the window, Fregley broke into my backpack and ate the whole bag of jelly beans I had in there. Fregley is one of those kids who's not supposed to eat any sugar, so 2 minutes later, he was bouncing off the walls. Fregley started acting like a total maniac, and he chased me all around his upstairs. I kept thinking he was going to come down off his sugar high, but he didn't. Eventually, I locked myself in his bathroom to wait him out. Around 11:30, it got quiet out in the hallway. That's when Fregley slipped a piece of paper under the door. I picked it up and read it. Dear Gregory, I am very sorry I chased you with a booger on my finger. Here, I put it on this paper so you can get me back. That is the last thing I remember before I blacked out. I came to my senses a few hours later. After I woke up, I cracked the door open, and I heard snoring coming from Fregley's room, so I decided to make a run for it. Mom and Dad were not happy with me for getting them out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, but by that point, I could really care less. All right, friends, so we're going to find out what happens with Rowley and Greg next time, and we'll finish the book. So, with that being said, my friends, Reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid is over. Goodbye, everyone.